All right, so now we have just our basic type of SQL query that's going on here with the structured query language. What we should be able to do is get some simple comments in there. If I was to do a /, would that work? No, that's not going to work. What about 2 forward slashes? No, that doesn't work. Well, if I wanted to comment out the entire block here, what I could do is I could do a /*, and then at the end here of my query, I could do another /*, and then everything I typed after that would be executable. So let's just say here that I wanted to do this underneath that. See how the blue and the red and the black? So now if I was to run this right here, only one query comes back because I commented out an entire block of information. See that? Now, let's just say here that I wanted to do a comment specifically here. How would I go about doing that? Well, the tick is usually within SQL where you put in a variable. Okay? And when we're doing dynamic programming using web programming, what are we not going to allow the user to do? The user, hopefully, my goodness, hopefully they do not see this SQL statement, right? What are we going to ask the user to provide us in order to give them back that dynamic record that they're in search of? What are we going to ask? A string, right? A variable. And in this particular case, we know what field we're going to allow them to search. That's going to be the what? Username, right? And then now what we're going to do is we're going to put a text box out on our web page that says username equals txt username.value or something like that out there on our web form.
Real quick, when you move to a new line there, I get the bracket that follows it. You got the two minus boxes. How did you get to the fresh line? I'm assuming you just hit enter.
Enter.
Right.
And then I should be able to just copy and paste. And for our particular purposes here, the /* anything inside of that, it doesn't matter if it's 100,000 carriage returns in there, anything inside that would be commented out until you close that tag. All right, so let's keep on trucking here. So inside of our magical localhost here, let's go back over to the Firefox. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to play a little bit with one of the specific instances that we have here, and I want you to just follow along with me the best that you possibly can. Our particular case here, this one that we're going to do is, it's kind of neat actually, the way that we'll go through and play with it. We'll actually do some interesting information here with hacking the web applications. And although a lot of times they actually will enforce certain security policies, they are vulnerable to a bunch of different types of attacks. So first things first, we're going to go through and we're going to play with this cars right here. Okay, so follow along with me here. One thing that we probably should test out is going to be the connectivity between machines here later on in the afternoon, because we'll go after each other's sites and see if we can get on it. But DNS, we don't have any DNS in here, so we'll have to type in IP addresses. Okay, hopefully you guys don't mind doing that. So for our first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do this trick called parameter tampering. Anybody ever heard of parameter tampering before? So parameter tampering is a type of attack that involves manipulations of parameters exchanged between a client and a server in order to modify application data like user credentials, permissions, price, and quantity of products. So what we're going to do is we'll go through and follow along with me here. We're going to do a demo. Right here on the home page. Everybody here? On the home page? We're going to assume that you are not a member and that you don't have a login for the site right here. We're going to tamper with the parameters by entering a bunch of keywords called the trial and error method. Trial and error method. First, we're going to go through, click on blog right here. And over here in the search, click on car 1. So I'm typing car 1 over here. And then click search. So this type of parameter tampering can be used by attackers and identity thieves to obtain personal or business information.
Did you say you were in blogs?
Blog, go in blog. So check it out. Car 1 is equal to 2,000 or 20,000 here. Now let's tamper with the parameters. So what do I mean by tampering with the parameters? Where do you see parameters here?
Cars, price.
Okay, cars and price. Where do we see that? Right in the middle of the screen? Okay. But where else do we see it?
Hot topics.
Hot topics? Where's that at?
Bottom left.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Where else?
What were we looking for again?
Parameter tampering. Interviews? Right here? Right here? No? No?
How does hot topics?
Oh, right here.
I'm not tracking that. I lost it.
So in our particular case here, it does not. It does not. Parameter tampering has nothing to do with anything that you see right here on the page. Look up in the URL. See how it's passing the ID equal car 1? So we're not logged in right now, yet we're able to see that there's a parameter that's being passed back to the server. Right? So now, based off of our structured query language that you just knew from there, what can we assume?
The car 1 is an attribute for car 1.
Yeah. It is an attribute for car 1, but also car 1 is something that's in the data store that could be searched upon, right? Well, what if we were to try car 2? So there we go. We're not using the search engine. We're going through and seeing what cars are available here. Car 3 is 80,000. And it's pretty easy to do parameter tampering in this particular case right here. Well, how does that work? How does this work? Well, let's take a look at this for a second. So look at localhost cars search exp.x, right? So over here in our www root, we want to go to cars and then search asp.x. So if I just come over here and I just say edit, and I take a look at this right here, there's a bunch of things down here. But what did I do? You guys remember what I did to start the magic here? What did I do? Cars 1 hit enter. Was that here on the search.asp.x? No, right? That was over here at this other site called blog, right? Blog had something in it called search. So I look for the search parameter in the blog here, and if I do like a right click and search, I can look at here, look at this. text box ID, text box, run at the server, whatever I put into the text box in between these parameters here. So then look, when the button is clicked, when button 1 here, which is the search button, that has a text box tied to it, is clicked, what does it do? Well, in ASP.X, it has this little C# code that's behind it. Look at this right here. C# code, and I'll just look at this right here. What was the name of that field? Anybody remember? So look at this. Button click 1. If text box length is less than 1, what's that mean?
No.
If it's null, then don't do anything. Else, response redirect and pass the ID to the search.asp.x page with textbox.1. What does that mean?
Take the value and submit it.
Yeah! Just take the value, redirect it to that search.asp.x page, and push it into that query. So then from that, it actually will reload that search.aspx, pass a parameter to it, the ID equal whatever. So you could actually circumvent that by doing this parameter tampering. Does that make sense? So here we go with the first type of web attack. That's going to be the parameter tampering. And this is going to be very, very similar to some of the other ones that we're going to do, like with SQL injection here. Okay? So keep that in mind as we go through and do that. Whoops.